Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Today, my guest is Marissa Cherepanov. She's a leadership executive, an author, and an advocate for women's empowerment. As CEO of No Girl Left Behind, she helps women and girls build confidence, leadership skills, and resilience. With nearly 20 years of leadership experience across multiple industries, Marissa is passionate about helping others reach their full potential. She's also a recovery advocate who openly shares her sobriety journey, inspiring others through her message of healing, transformation, and personal growth. Marissa, welcome to the Sober New Yorker podcast.
Hi, I'm
I'm
excited.
I'm so excited you're here. We met up just before we hit record, and we said we've been following each other on Instagram. We've been watching, what each of us does in the sober space, and I'm just really thrilled to have you here today. So, where are you calling from in this world?
Yes, headquarters for me is Oregon, Pacific
Oh,
Northwest, United
okay.
States. Yeah.
Amazing. I was out there last year at this time, actually, in early summer in Portland. I have a friend that lives in Happy Valley, and we
Yeah.
went to the coast, Manzanita Beach, and just a beautiful, beautiful state. Yeah.
It is. I love it. I always say I love how we have kind of the best of everything here. We have one side of the state is like desert, and we have like snow mountains. We also have like swim beaches. Like you can kind
Hmm.
of do a little bit of everything here, all within the state. So it's really nice.
Yeah. I highly recommend a trip there if you haven't been. So if you're in Portland, were you originally from there? Or, I mean, Oregon, you're not, are you Portland
Yes.
specifically? Okay.
No, I'm about an hour away from Portland, so I'm in the capital city of Salem. I'm actually just
Oh,
kind of right outside Salem, but right in the heart of the capital of Oregon. So,
great.
yeah, born and raised. I've traveled here and there, but I've never permanently moved anywhere. I've been in Oregon for a while. We have two properties here and lots of family here, and my career is here, and I have four children.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, it's home base.
Yeah, definitely. Well, take us back, I was first drawn to you because of your sobriety story. I know you have so much going on professionally, and I think that is a big result of getting
Hmm.
sober. So, but let's back it up and talk about your journey because I don't really know much about it. And how long have you been sober?
Yeah, I am. Gosh, I should have looked at my app before I jumped on here. I know I'm in between 3 and 4 years. I think I'm very close to 3.5 years. I have the I Am Sober app, little plug.
Yeah.
Uh, and, I check in there because now it's been so long, I can't really remember. At first, I remember when I decided to go public, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
It was at 100 days. I was like, once I hit 100 days, I'll let the world on social know and like, people outside my immediate family know. And so at 100 days is when I started sharing it. And I think I just did a post a week ago and it was like 1,230 days or something like that I'm at now. So right around 3.5 years
Wow.
is what I'm coming up on. And I will say I said in my head that I want to quit drinking for probably like a decade before I actually finally quit. Like I knew I wanted to quit drinking for so long before I did. So
Yeah.
3.5 years, I'm right up there, I think.
So you're probably early 2023 because I'm
Hmm.
August 23.
Sober buddies. So
We're
yeah,
sober buddies.
January of 2023.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
So you say it took you 10 years. I can relate to that. I think probably almost everyone listening can relate to that, that it's a voice in your head and you know people who are, and you look at them like they're
I
like
thought they were
how
crazy, like,
uh,
because it's not like it wasn't like it is now, like, there's,
right.
like, a trend where, like, it's okay to be sober, and I'm not ashamed to say it, but I do wanna say, like, 20, 30 years ago, it wasn't that mainstream, and it was weird, so, like, when I've said this before on previous podcasts, but when I would run into, like, my parents' friends as a child, and they would say, like, "Oh, they don't drink," my little, adolescent mind would think, like, "Okay, weirdo. Like, what's wrong with you?" Like, everyone drinks, there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
But I was so young, so, Yeah, it's changed.
Yeah, and that subconscious programming, that's just a perfect testament to that as well, that you see grown-ups drinking. That's what they do, and when
Mhm.
you see them not drinking, even as a little kid, something must be wrong, right? That
Mhm.
like, what is
Yeah.
wrong with them that they don't drink or can't drink or they had a huge problem or yeah, and
Mhm.
it's thankfully, it's not that way anymore, not at
Yeah, I
all.
feel like this new generation has almost made, like, the health craze, like, the new takeover. I was just reading something about how bachelorette parties, like, in my generation and, previous generations and same with us, like, it was about getting blackout drunk. Like, that's what you did at your bachelorette party, and now they're doing, like, wellness bachelorette parties, like spa day and rejuvenation before the big day, and so, like, collectively, there's an entire generation kind of switching that mindset from, blacking out is cool to being healthy is cool.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I love it. I'm here for all of it. But your journey specifically, so
Yeah.
did you in those 10 years where was nagging at you, so to speak, did you take any little breaks from alcohol?
I did, like, the 30-day thing
Mhm.
a couple times, maybe 2 or 3, but in each one of those, I never had an intention of quitting forever. I knew I was waiting for that 30th day so that I could drink? So I think
Right.
in all of those instances, yes, I took breaks. Or, I mean, I have 4 kids, so obviously each time I was pregnant, I had a huge break and I nursed all my kids, so an even longer break. But I always knew I would go back to it.
Mhm.
Excuse me. I'd say in my 30s, like, subconsciously, I knew I was a drinker and I was gonna keep drinking, and that's the state of my life that I was in that moment. Like, I feel like my 20s was kind of like partying and figuring it out, and I'll go into that later, but, my 30s was very much like that realization of you're becoming an adult,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, and it's hard. For me, I was just talking to my daughter about this. It's different for everyone, but my 30s was hard. I feel like my 20s was like learning and partying and figuring it out, and my 30s was like a result of making some poor decisions in my 20s, and then my 40s was like, "Oh, okay. I've learned from all that and I figured it out." Um, but yeah, to your original question for me,
Yeah.
yeah.
So your
Yeah.
20s, so you don't have your 4 kids until your 30s?
No, I guess I should back up. So I have 4 kids,
Mhm.
and they are, almost 20, 16, 11, and 7.
Okay.
So they sound pretty spread out when I say it like that. My husband and I have been together, going on 26 years. And so we had the first 2 kids in our 20s, and they're about 3 years apart, and then
Mhm.
we intentionally took 5 years off from having kids to establish our career and buy a house and do all the adulting things, you know, what I was talking about, all the things we do in our 30s.
Right.
And, and then we had another set, so we had 2 more, so there's a 5-year gap between the 2 sets.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I've got 1 moved out, 1 in high school, and then 1 going into middle school and 1 in elementary school. So actually, I'm kind of excited because it's been a minute since I've had 1 in different schools. So I'm going to have 1 in each now, which is exciting. It makes my schedule so fun. Looking forward to next year.
I
So yeah,
bet.
we had 2 in our 20s, took 5 years off, and then 2 more in our early 30s.
Right.
Yeah.
So in that 5-year span that you took off, you're raising 2 kids. What does your drinking look like
It
as a
wasn't that
mom?
bad.
Mhm.
I'd say it wasn't that bad when I was in my early 20s and I was just figuring out life and I had 2 little kids. There was no such thing as COVID.
Right.
I was very fresh and young in my career. I didn't have a ton of responsibility. Um, I think it was by the time I was in my 30s juggling 4 kids, post-COVID, at the heat and the height of my, day career, my day job, and, yeah, I hadn't launched my company yet. So I think it was I'm trying to think for me, it was 2020, like 2020, well, 2020 to 2022.
Yeah.
Let's just be real. It was like the 2 years after COVID, really where for me it got bad, I think. Just everything at once. Um, feeling like you're getting older, 40's coming,
Mhm.
kids are getting older, they're paying attention more, they see more, they know more responsibility at work. So I think it was just probably a flood of everything. I also did have a significant loss kind of around that time. My grandma, who was like everyone says their grandma was their best friend. Same. I mean, we talked every day
Mhm.
on the phone. She came over every day. She was like my right hand man in life. And so I think that loss, coupled with all those other things I just previously listed, I think together it was just a storm that wine and liquor and beer was just feeding the frenzy. And I didn't know it, right? Because I got to the point where I'm chasing that feeling of, it got to the point where I, like, needed to drink to feel normal because I was
Mm.
drinking so much, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's when I really started repeating in my head, like, "You've gotta stop. Like, you've got to stop," just
Right.
unhealthy habits and God, even physically, I was at my worst. That's why I love seeing your, stuff come up on my feed is because, you dance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
do.
I did hip hop cardio like a long time ago. And there was a couple times where I like led the classes. It was so fun for me because I have like a gymnast past, like dancing past. And so it was really fun. So seeing you is really fun. But even just physically, I'd done a lot of physical dancing and gymnastics in the past, and by that time, I'd gotten to a point where I just completely let myself go. Like,
Mhm.
I did not care about calories or health or strength or heart or I was because you're so young, you don't have to think about it yet. Like,
Right.
you're in your 30s, you don't need to think about all that stuff yet. You're having fun still. And I think mentally, a lot of us are still in our 20s by the time our 30s hit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can relate to that so much. The those COVID years and a loss coupled with just like medicating yourself and turning into someone that you don't recognize, literally. I mean, I talk about, I saw pictures of myself that I hated. I hated.
Mhm.
And in the past I would do something to change that, and I got to this point where I just surrendered and said, "Oh, well, maybe this is just the way my life is supposed to be. Maybe just supposed to be this heavy or, dull in the
Yeah.
eyes for the rest of my life." And that mediocrity of living was was more scary than the actual image looking back at
Yeah.
me.
And the things you start to accept,
Right.
I mean, you just get to a point where in the back of your mind that you're not making good decisions,
No.
but you're just stuck in this like hamster wheel of this is where I've got myself and I'm going to go to work and clock out and come home and start drinking and
Yeah.
then I'll feel better,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
And raising kids on top of it is not easy. Holding a full-time job, it sounds like you were at a very stressful, high demanding job at the time. And, you think these things are helping. You think drinking is helping your job, your mothering, your relationships, and it's just not. So what does life look like those days and weeks right before you end up removing alcohol?
Yeah. I'd say I had lots of rock bottoms. I had lots of instances where life was very chaotic, right? We were not thriving as a family. And I had I'd known for a while that I wanted to stop. And my husband and I were having issues that we were working through. Um, I'd gone to do like a temperature check conversation with my older children.
Mhm.
And in that, and I talk about this a lot, so it's out there. But in that conversation, we never mentioned drinking, but I talk about how I had like a flash of foresight. Like I was talking to my children, just a regular temperature check. How's life? How's friends? How's school? What's going on in your world? And it was like in that moment, it was January 7th, 2023. And it was in that moment that, sorry, I was thinking I was doing math in my head. It was in that moment that I could almost see their lives 10 years down the road if I was sober, and I could see their lives 10 years down the road if we were living the way we currently lived. It was like I was sitting in the bedroom talking to them, and based on their responses, which were super casual, nothing out of the norm, in that moment, in particular on that day, it happened to be Russian Christmas, which is so wild. I often mention that. So January 7th is Orthodox Christmas every year. But um, in that moment, it was like something hit me like a brick wall. Like, if you don't stop now, that's going to be their life. If you stop today, that's going to be their life. It's up to
Wow.
you. And so I left the room and I walked right up to my husband and I said, I'm never drinking again, ever. I am never drinking again, ever. Like, their lives will be different. They'll be in a completely parallel universe existing in different lives if I make this decision today than if I don't. Uh, and then the next day I went out and I had made it up in my mind. So that's the difference. Cause I'd said earlier that I had quit before
Mhm.
for a short period to try and get healthy or lose weight or whatever. But I knew I was going to drink again. Where in this moment, like, I knew that there was a different version of myself and my children and my life out there, but I couldn't touch it. I couldn't see it. I couldn't feel it unless I quit drinking. So I went out the next day and I bought adult coloring books and a ton of kombucha because my go-to when I got home was to start drinking. And I was like, what
Mhm.
am I going to do if I don't drink?
Mhm.
So it was forcing myself to crack open a kombucha at the kitchen island, pull up a stool, and open up an adult coloring book and force my face in that adult coloring book until I didn't need to anymore. And I can't, it's been a hot minute. I want to say it was like a few weeks, but don't quote me. But I want to say a few weeks of those coloring books. And it was like, okay, I don't need them. I can come home and sit on the
Mhm.
couch and have a kombucha, and I don't need my hands to be so busy. Like, I got
Right.
past that phase of like needing something in my hands, right?
Right.
Um, so like I knew what I needed to do, and I knew I needed to work through it on my terms, my own way. Um, and I also knew in the back of my mind that it was coming, if that makes sense. Like, I knew that I would quit one day, and it was almost like this safety net, like the security net. And it was like, how bad are you going to let it get? How bad are you gonna let it get? You know you're gonna quit. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? And it
Mm.
was in that conversation in that bedroom where I could just see 2 different worlds, and it was like, "Your choice. What do you wanna do here?" So, that was the last day I ever drank. Yeah, I
Wow.
haven't drank since that day, since that bedroom conversation, and a lot of people say like, there's this, meme about how I think it's Rob Lowe, I wanna say, but I'm not sure. He says, like, no one can quit for anyone other than themselves, and I
Mm.
just think people can quit for so many different reasons. Like, everybody's journey is different, and the night that I quit, 100% was not for me. Like, of course, the healthy version of me was in the back of my mind, but in that moment, it was my kids. Like,
Mhm.
it was their lives that made me wanna quit. And then, it morphed into like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm gonna level up. I'm gonna have a glow up. I'm gonna lose all the weight, like, put myself first. It's this health journey." But it started with, I can make their lives better. So I think when I see something that says, like, no one can quit for anyone but themselves, I mean, people can quit for anything. It can be a rock bottom, it can be nothing that makes it happen, you know, it can be your job. I mean, it can be anything, but I will say that it takes you being mentally ready because I knew in that moment it was for them, but I was ready, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I agree. I think your why can be many different things, and they can constantly be changing.
Yeah.
And initially, I think parents, that's very common to think, "I'm gonna do this for my kids." You had that vision. It's so
Mhm.
powerful. Like, what
Yeah.
will my life look like 10 years from now if I keep up this behavior
I talk a
versus.
lot about mental rehearsal
Yeah,
and,
I love that.
like, the power of it from the sport I did as a young child. Like, I'm kind of obsessed with mental rehearsal,
Yeah.
and, like, visualization and manifestation and all the things. I won't get all woo-woo on you, but,
I mean,
that's what my mom calls it. But,
yeah,
yeah, I love envisioning, the future or what the future could look like. And I think I've done that for so long that, like, I almost like forced that vision into my presence that day. Probably, because I've been doing that for so long. Like, even as a young child, I started
mhm.
hardcore sport at the age of 3, and by the time I was like 10, we were doing like mental rehearsal, uh, you know,
What
practicing,
sport?
traveling, going to camps. I did gymnastics
Oh,
for
wow. That's
I think
hardcore.
13 years, 12 or
Yeah.
13 years, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of mental rehearsal that they teach you in that, and that's just kind of how I've lived my life. So even in, like, my darkest moments, which, I can touch on a tiny bit, I don't wanna take up too much of the podcast. It kind of ties into sobriety. When I say the darkest moments of my life, I had some things happen to me when I was a teenager, which is kind of what filtered into my passion, into my little side hobby that I've launched, Never Left Behind.
Mhm.
Um, but when I guess I should go back. I had on a podcast once someone say to me, "What made you start drinking in the very, very beginning? What made you start drinking in the very
Mhm.
beginning?" And I thought, no one's ever asked me that. Like, I don't even remember. Was I like 20? Was I 16? I don't know. Because for me, it wasn't alcohol. And so no one had ever asked me that. So that prompted me into telling kind of a story about what happened to me, and then I started sharing that on podcasts, and then now it's been published in the Start Over book series. And so I'm in volume 2, chapter, I want to say 11. It might be 12. I should know this, but I want to say 11. And it's just kind of what happened to me when I was younger. And the mental rehearsal that I learned in sport carried me through that dark time.
Mm.
So when I was 17, I'd ran away from home. I'll make it short and sweet. You can get the book if you want the whole story. But uh I came from a really good upbringing, but I had some things happen and I had some circumstances where I decided to run away. And
Huh.
I went real hard, real fast. I spent about 4 years in a very dark place as a 17-year-old. When I was 17, I found myself in the wrong place at the wrong time. There was really no one else there, and I sometimes I say wrongfully arrested, but I was there. I was arrested for 7 felonies, including attempted manslaughter. And during, like, the holding cell when they were testing the drugs and things like that, they let me know that they were gonna try me as an adult, even though I was a minor. So had I been tried as a minor, they would have been misdemeanors. They chose to try me as an adult, even though I wasn't quite 18. So by the time I turned 18, I had taken a plea bargain and I was a homeless felon. So
Hmm.
in the book, my chapter is called From Felon to CEO. And I talk about what happened to me at 17, getting those charges, not really knowing what was going on or what was happening to me or if I even had any defense, accepting it, and then spending the next 10 years working on further education. And then the next like 5 years after that, really deep diving into building my career. But the mental rehearsal and gymnastics is what I attribute going through all of these navigations in my life with, because I've always been able to visualize that version of myself that I knew I could be through every chapter I went through, whether it
Huh.
was, at 17 running away and getting charged, whether it was the decade I spent doing further education, whether it was becoming an alcoholic in my 30s. Like,
Mhm.
um, every time I've had to pivot, I've really, really latched on to visualizing that better version of myself. And so I sometimes speak about that when I do like sessions. I haven't done one in a hot minute. I've been a little too busy, but
Yeah.
um, that's really what I lean into is mental rehearsal. I just think it's so powerful.
Yeah. I love that, and I can relate to it a lot when you talk about that there was something in you that knew you were going to quit at some point, that this
Hmm.
wasn't going to I felt that for many, many years before I did.
I think we
I
all do. It's like this
Mhm.
voice in your head.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think, I mean, I lost my best friend to this, awful addiction, and even when he was sick and towards the end of his life, I I did mental rehearsal of thinking what I could do with his passing and his illness and his like, what kind of gift that would be for me
Hmm.
and moving my life forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's powerful.
it's really powerful, and when you finally make the decision to do it and you're actively doing it, and it just gives you more of a reason to think even bigger, you
Hmm.
know?
And for
So
me, oh,
yeah.
sorry. I was going to
No,
say,
no.
I talk a lot about, what I try to teach people when I do a session is it's more than just like imagining something in your mind. Like, if you really want to change, practice feeling how it how that feeling would feel, if that makes sense.
Mm,
So like if you're struggling to get sober and you like imagine being so healthy, right? Like you're doing strength training, you're like jogging 30 minutes a day, you're not drinking, you're waking up early, you're doing your apple cider vinegar or whatever. I don't do that, but whatever it is,
Yeah.
like you imagine this health routine, like get to a point, like lay in bed and picture that version of yourself, but get to a point where you feel that version of yourself,
Mhm.
like you feel that healthy version of yourself and bottle it up and hold on to it and go back to it like every morning and every night before you go to bed. And you do that every day and that feeling gets contagious and the universe sends that to you. You
Mm.
know, it plants those opportunities in front of you that help you get sober. Like for me, it was having that vision.
Yeah.
But it's feeling that success. I think that people sometimes think, oh, like visualization, manifestation, like put it on a vision board and
Mhm.
look at it
Mhm.
and think it in your mind. But it's so much more about like a feeling. You've got to learn to fake the feeling
Right.
until it's real. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And really start to believe it, that it's
Hmm.
possible. And
Yeah.
and that really doesn't start to happen until you move out the negativity from your life, the thing that isn't working for you, in our case, alcohol.
Hmm.
So I really want to get to this No Girl Left Behind. Um, and when and does this come about because you are in a sober space, or
Yeah.
when do you get the idea for this, and what is
So
it
I
all
can't
about?
take I can't take credit for the idea. There's a lovely woman. She's a dear, dear friend of mine. Her name is Kiki, and she's from Canada. And it was originally her baby, her idea, and her and I crossed paths. So I have to give her credit for being the founder. But 100%, if I never got sober, I probably never would have crossed paths with her. So her and I crossed paths, and originally I was gonna, I think, speak at one of her events, and then we became friends, and we talked more and more and more. And I have a very big background in like corporate leadership and marketing and branding and things like that for my day job career. So the more we talked, it just made sense for me to help out and get appointed as CEO of her company. So when I first started, I was CEO of her company. And then we were quick to realize when we kind of dug into the operational back end of things, because we're cross border, it just makes more sense to have a United States organization and then a Canadian organization as far as logistics go of,
Right.
running a nonprofit. So we've branched off and we're, working on our own sectors, chapters, if you will, but we're not actually technically chapters. So in 2024, I launched in the United States.
Okay.
So I'm No Girl Left Behind United States. And then she's doing a lot of work in Canada with a separate organization. But the whole point of No Girl Left Behind is female empowerment. And specifically here in the United States, I'm leaning very heavily into youth female empowerment. So,
Mm-hmm.
with my background of what happened to me as a teenager, and then the book that came out last May, uh, it all kind of couples together with like what's driving the passion behind No Girl Left Behind. I think I didn't really come to terms with what I went through until I got sober. So,
Mm.
to put it into perspective, what I went through as a teenager and all the arrest and all that stuff, I kept that very hidden almost all my life. Nobody knew what really happened to me. Um, and it wasn't until I quit drinking alcohol and I'd accidentally shared some things on a podcast. And then the reaction was like, no, you got to share more. So then I started doing more podcasting and traveling and sharing it. And that's when I started to really process what I went through. And that's when I really realized I had a good family and I had a good upbringing, but there was one thing lacking, and it was just that extra layer of female empowerment. Like, my mom was great, but I don't think she came from a generation that was, like, super into female empowerment. A lot of our parents don't even really know what that is or what to call it. And so I did a lot of research after I met the woman from Canada and then looking at my background. And I realized there's really a gap in the United States, specifically like the Pacific Northwest and like the
Mm-hmm.
whole left side of the country. Like there's a couple other national organizations that cater to that, but it's really lacking in my area. And I thought, you know what? I've got the means to do it. I enjoy it. It doesn't feel like work to me. I'm putting my own time and my resources into it because it's a nonprofit. But I love it. It's so much more fun to come home and work on No Girl Left Behind than it is to pour a glass of wine. So,
Yeah.
I absolutely love growing it and I love spending my time on it. So our big bread and butter, if you will, what what we like to market the most is our big annual event. So each spring we do one really large event and we fly in women from all over the world. We've got a couple core women that come to every event. Um, and I want to say at our last event, we had people from 5 different states fly in. And so
Wow.
these are women that we've like hand selected that specialize in their industry, therapy, counselor, female anatomy, celebrity, leadership, career coaching, whatever it may be. There's a self defense person once. We just added a nurse, or I'm sorry, a pediatrician.
Mm.
Um, so we find these women that are specializing in their field and we get them to come on board as a speaker or mentor. And then during that one annual event, we fly everyone in, we bring everyone together, and we separate by age. So, depending on where a female is at in her stage of life, I'm still kind of working out. Every time we do an event, we're like, "Hey, this could be better. We should do this." So we're still kind of in that process. But I believe age 7 to 10 is a really good age bracket because before we've done 9 to 14 and 15 and up. So we just
Mhm.
decided after this last one, it might make more sense to add another layer in there. So
Mm.
like 7 to 10, 11 to 14, and then 15 and up. But we're still kind of moving it around because some girls are really mature and
Yeah.
some girls aren't. So you kind of have to, and again, there's gray area. We have people come in that say, gosh, my daughter's this old, but she'd really benefit from sitting here. She's like 1 year off. And we're like, hey, just let her, come in here and get the information she truly needs, right? We want to be realistic. So
Right.
we separate the room by age. We start out in that annual event in one big room with a DJ and music and snacks and like a coffee bar and a candy bar, and it's so much fun. We have our intro, and then depending on your age, you go into a specific room and you go through a workshop.
Mm.
You're with people your age. Your parents are not with you. It's a reserved space for youth, so you can be really honest. And I want to say by session one, these girls are getting really honest. It's
Wow.
amazing to watch.
Wow.
So after each session, we come back together in that big shared space and we talk about breakthroughs. There's a lot of confessions. I will say by the end of the day, it's really, really impactful. We'll have one of our headliners talk a little bit about the things that she talked about with the youth, like online bullying or suicide or school etiquette and all the things. And we have a lot of like anonymous hand raising in the youth sessions, like
Mhm.
everyone closes their eyes and puts their head down and like raise your hand if you've experienced this, those type of things. But
Yeah.
it's really impactful at the end of the day when we have the adult women together, and sometimes they're moms or aunts or neighbors or friends of these youth, and she'll reveal, like, hey, 90% of that youth room just raised their hand that they've had suicidal thoughts. And I think a lot of the adults don't, like, they might think about it, but it's not in their face. And
Right.
so by the end of the day, it's just so much coming together and breakthrough. Like,
Mm.
you're watching, I always say what drives me, what makes me love it so much is at the beginning of the day, everyone's got a wall up. Everyone's closed off, they're kinda hesitant, especially the youth, especially the teenagers.
Yeah.
We always say there's always, like, one runner. We always have a runner. Um, but by the end of the day, everybody's a different person. They
Mm.
are just fully themselves. There's no, like, cool persona. We've let down the walls. We've had our tears. We've been really honest with ourselves and the people around us, and we've exchanged phone numbers. And so for me, it's the impact at the end of the day when it's like everything's revealed. We're all kind of letting it all out there, putting all cards on the table, if you
Mm.
will. And it's just a really good feeling to see that many women, all different ages, coming together and just being so real for a day. And then we're all connected after that. That's the best
Mm.
part is you've made lifelong friends from all over the country. So that's what's really fun for me is it's just we just keep growing, and the layer of women. I just added a board member in Washington State, and so she's representing up there for me, but it's just we're even kind of just branching off and growing here regionally where we're at. So yeah, No Girl Left Behind started by me crossing paths, yes, with a woman who I would not have crossed paths with if I was still drinking.
Right.
100%. I often tell the story of like when my whole life kind of started to change. If you want me to go down that wormhole, I'll try to make it fast, but I had quit drinking very recently and I was still like traveling corporately for jobs, for my day jobs. And I was on a work trip, which normally on a work trip, I'd be in the pub after work. Like if my hotel's by a pub, I'm going to go to the pub.
Yeah.
And this was the first work trip during my sober journey where I was like, I have nothing to do. if I'm not going to go to the pub. And so I sat up on my laptop, building a business case for a weight loss company to partner with them. And that's kind of where it all started. Like, instead of going to the pub that night, I think I was in Seattle. Yeah, I
Mhm.
was in Seattle. And instead of going to the pub that night, because I was like very beginning stages of like trying to be sober, I sat on my laptop and created a business case to like do an online collaboration with a company on Instagram because I was bored, right?
Right.
And that's just kind of where it all started. So to answer your original question, like, this all started because I opened up my laptop instead of walking over across the street to the pub because I
Wow.
knew I wanted to be sober, right? And it's like,
Right,
what can I
right.
do to keep myself busy? And the more you do those things, the more opportunities just start to come,
Yeah.
right? Because you're
Yeah.
just spending your time, on positive energy, putting positive energy
Right.
out there,
And
right? So,
growing. Yeah, that growth mindset that I mean, but, I love that your story, like, immediately you got the kombucha and the coloring books, and you
like next
changed
day.
yeah, you changed that habit. You just changed it and kept at it until it loosened its grip, and
hmm
then you opened your laptop when
hmm
you could have gone to the pub, all these things in early sobriety, just like leaning into the unknown and being open to wherever it will take you. Because
hmm
I think that that is it's really hard to explain it to people. It's really hard to say, "Trust me, you're gonna sleep better, you're gonna look better, you might drop a few pounds." Like, the physical and mental things are gonna be there, but what you don't know is how amazing and new
hmm
opportunities could be coming your way. I mean, it's just and you're the perfect example of that. You're y
It's really like a whole different life. And you're right. It's really hard to explain to people because depending on where people are at in the stage of their life, I think especially of like retired people, like it's really
Mm,
hard for people I know, because I have a lot of people that I talk to and that I'm trying to help or I DM
mhm,
or whatever, and boredom is so hard. And
mhm,
so for me, I often say like I switched my alcohol addiction for like career addiction in a way. Like for me it's keeping myself from being bored, which is, I don't know if
mhm,
it's the best thing, but I I know that if I had nothing to do, it would be harder for me to not drink. And so I subconsciously, I think, like keep myself busy
mhm,
to avoid those boredom moments. And I think for some people it's so hard to avoid those moments, right? And I know, I mean, I had a sister that I lost, and for her I often talk about that story. But when people are bored, it's real hard. And so I think some of my best advice is like not only change your habits and really be intentional about it and have consistency with it. Um, but I tell people all the time, like, find a hobby, like you and
yeah,
dance, like, I think it's so
yeah,
good for people early in sobriety to find something new or old. Like for me, it had been 20 years since I'd done art, but I
right,
knew I enjoyed it.
right.
And those memes about sober people in their gardens are so true. Like, I'm outside, like, with my flowers, and I'll have, like, a moment like, "Oh my god, I have turned into that person." But you just find joy in the simpler things because, again, like, scientifically, chemically, you're not numbing yourself, and so, like, natural happiness feels better because you get
Mhm,
addicted to that, like,
mhm,
liquid happiness, right?
right,
And then you need more of it to feel happy. So once you totally strip that out of your body and you give yourself enough time to fully recover and really get a little bit of your bounce back, you start to enjoy life more. Like, the sky is bluer because
yeah,
you're not numbing yourself with liquid poison. So,
yeah, yeah,
like you said, it's hard to explain it to people, but I always say just give it like 100 days.
mhm,
I mean, like 30 days is great, but, or even 6 months. I don't know. For me, I want to say like 6 months was 100 days is where I started to feel different. And
mhm.
6 months is where I was like, oh my God, this is life changing. Yeah, but
Same.
for me,
Yeah.
like 30 days never really did it. I was just waiting for the 30 days to be over,
Right.
honestly, back then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100 days, your those neural pathways are changing and have grown, new paths, and
Mhm.
the 6 months, oh my god, that's, the 6 months was the first time I made an Instagram reel of me doing step aerobics in my
Oh, I
basement,
love that.
and
Isn't it so
people
crazy though, how it changes your life, like, just trying
like, I
something
was
new?
so happy. I was so happy. I was so joyful. I couldn't believe that this was my life, and I
Right?
to express it that way, and I mean, it's just the gift that keeps on giving, and that's not to say that life isn't hard. It is, but dealing with it and, not running away from it
Yeah.
is
And even on my worst days now, like, sometimes I'll feel really stressed out,
Mhm.
and I'll have to, like, stop and think, "Marissa, you don't drink." Like, that's the coolest thing in the world. So no matter what's going on in your life, the fact that you don't drink anymore, lean into that. And
Mm.
I'm like, life's not so bad. So, like,
Nope.
I'll always go back to the fact that, like, I gave up alcohol, and that's such a big win that it trumps anything I'm going through. And so it really
Absolutely.
truly does make the bad days easier because I'll remind myself. And I'll often me and my husband, he's been sober just 1 year less than me. So I think a year into my sobriety, he quit, but so he's coming up on 2.5 years, I think. So we'll often talk about, like, we'll forget, like, that there's that, like, drinking community out there. We'll totally forget
Right.
sometimes, and, we'll have to remind ourselves, like, "Oh, they're probably drunk. It's a Saturday night at 9 o'clock," like,
I know.
we forget sometimes, and so we have to remind ourselves to be grateful for that decision that we made, and I think
Mm.
that's a good thing for people still thinking about sobriety, like, you get to a point where it's not at front of mind, and we were talking about this before, um for me, I haven't spoken about sobriety in so long that when I got word that we were doing this, I was really excited because I miss talking about it. It's like you get to a point, I think, after a couple years where you lose track of the days and you're just living a whole different life and it's just a part of your life anymore.
Right.
Um, it's a part of your daily. And so
Mhm.
for me, doing something like this and bringing it back up to front of mind, I think is really good. For
Mhm.
me to just even with the people that I talk to on the daily, like the people that reach out to me and DM me, I think it's good for me to have these conversations and remember what made me quit and why I quit. And how it all played out and what I did. Yeah.
And to see how your life has grown because of it,
Mhm.
right? Just exponential growth because of one decision you made. Yeah.
And
I
it's so much there's so much more than just that. Like that's
right.
um
We don't have enough time. I mean, really, like, you could talk for forever about
the
how
things that have
much.
happened in my life since I gave up alcohol are
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah. I
Insane.
believe it. I
Yeah.
believe it. I'm living it as well, and I know other people that are as well. And, I think it's really important for people like us to have these conversations because it's not a rock bottom, homeless woman living under the
Mhm.
bridge. Like, this does not discriminate. Like,
Yeah.
it is a addictive substance that is made to get you to want more. And until you, like, realize what it is and, at face value, you don't you don't know until you know. So,
Mhm.
I mean, this has
That's
just been
why I appreciate so much recently, like, celebrities coming
yeah,
out,
me
and
too.
just people saying and, like, I think it was Hayden Panettiere is her name, but,
Yeah, yeah.
her just even, like, all these pictures of, like, them looking super glamorous, have it all together, perfect life, everything's great, and they're like, "I was in active, like,
Mhm,
alcoholism in that point." Like, I
mhm.
think that's a really good thing for people, especially young people to see is that, like, you can look like a completely well put together person
Yeah.
and go home and get blackout drunk every day and no one will know,
Yep.
like
Yeah.
and the other thing is it's never gonna stop being advertised the way it is, right? Because it's financial stability for the alcohol
Exactly.
industry, so it's not gonna go away. It's like you said, having conversations like this publicly
Yeah.
that I think will balance that for the generations to come. Because
Right.
in the past, like for us, it was only on TV, and it was weird to be sober. I think if there's enough of these public conversations, people will be able to make their own decisions, and
Yeah.
not be swayed that one way, which even if you look at the research, the percentage on how many kids between so many, like, age 20 to whatever, it's gone down so much. Like, some of them are, like, 50% less drinking than, like, the generation before them. So,
Mhm.
I agree with you. I think it's so important to have these conversations publicly.
Yeah, yeah, I do too. Well, this has been absolutely such a treat. Thank you so much, Marissa, for coming in. And I'm going to link all of your information into the show notes. The No Girl Left Behind just sounds right up my alley. If you guys ever get to the East Coast for
It's so
anything,
fun.
oh,
It's
I
such
would
a fun
love to
day.
be a part of it. Or I mean, what an opportunity
Absolutely.
for those girls, to talk about their feelings, right?
Mhm.
With real
Yeah,
people
and
and
just to
not
even have
on
the resources.
yeah,
Like, we always say we're like the online mom. So
it's
if you have a question, just let us know.
but even better because sometimes you don't wanna ask your mom,
Mhm.
right? You don't
Yeah,
wanna
that
admit
extra
to your
layer.
mom, right. Yeah, it just sounds amazing. I'm so happy to hear more of it and your story as well, and, you know, we gotta keep telling our stories, that's where the real power lies, so thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It was so great. I love this so much. We have to do it again. Thank you for your time.
Definitely, and if you ever get to the East Coast and wanna come dance with me,
Yes. Yes, 100%. I'm there.
I would love that. All right, everyone, thanks for joining us today. If you loved this show, leave a comment for Marissa, and don't forget those five-star reviews and, all those other great things that you leave me. Have a great
Yes.
one, everyone. Peace out. You guys, thanks so much for listening to The Sober New Yorker. If today's convo hit home, share it with your people. Hit subscribe, leave a review, and come back for more stories that cut through the noise and serve up the sober truth, New York style. Until next time, be kind to yourself, stay bold, be a badass, and peace out.